Hey everyone, you're tuned into InfoQuench with Jeff.
And Amy. Join us as we talk about anything.
And everything.
All the stuff that makes life interesting.
So let's get to it. Hey everybody, and welcome to InfoQuench. I'm your host, Jeff.
And I'm Amy. And this episode is episode 99. We're going to party like it's 1999.
Prince would be proud.
No, but what we are going to do is just do a little bit of reflection and give you a bit of insight into the podcast. So we want to talk about why we got started with InfoQuench, a little bit of the how, let you know a bit more about what the behind the scenes process is and what we have planned for the future.
Yes.
And I would like to say one episode away from now is episode 100. And to celebrate that, we're going to go back through our previous episodes, pick out some of the highlights, the most favorite tips that our listeners have enjoyed, and compile them all together into one episode for your listening pleasure. So looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We've got a lot of, 100 episodes. Who would have ever thought we would get to 100 episodes?
I know. I thought we would have given up long by now.
No, I didn't think we'd give up, but maybe just put it on the back burner or something. But we've been very consistent making these things.
We have, even through a pandemic.
Even
more so through the pandemic. We talked about the fact that these podcast episodes will act as a bit of a time capsule, particularly for major events like that. You know, when years from now, we can look back to see if you go back to March of last year of 2020, there are a few episodes where we just focus specifically on the pandemic when it was starting to get underway. And Charlie would agree. One of the things I want to talk about in this podcast a bit is a little bit about the challenges that we have and the high points, the low points, and Charlie's one of our challenges. But you know what? He's a presence.
We decided a while back to just, I think maybe the first couple times he was yanging like that, we were just like, okay, let's re-record this. But then we're like, no, it's our lives.
Well, and we can't lock him in a room. Like, what's the alternative, really?
We can't put our lives on. Yeah, I know, exactly. We can't put our lives on hold just for a podcast. It's got to be real.
I mean, our setup here, Jeff and I, we're set up in our living room. We have a desk set up, and it's comfortable for us. It's easy for us to record and not wake up our son when he's sleeping. We usually try to record at night because it's a bit quieter in terms of ambient noise, which is always another challenge for
It's a cozy setup, but
recording.
It's not quite as cozy as Mark Maron's garage.
No, that's true.
That would be ideal if we could get something set up like that where it was a nice big desk and we each had our own mic.
You want to build a garage just so we can record podcasts in it?
We got the space, baby.
I think we should, yeah. I don't actually think we do have the space outside. Just the driveway will become a podcast studio.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I'd say, as I say that as traffic goes by.
We've got the deck too. That the deck isn't even used at all because there's no privacy. The neighbors are just peering down on us no matter what we try to do out there.
So we are very much urban dwellers, and we live in St. John, New Brunswick. So we proudly host our podcast out of Uptown St. John. And for those of you listening from afar, I know we do have some international listeners. New Brunswick is a province in the country of Canada. And
we're a husband and wife duo.
We are. Some people don't know that.
And some people didn't know how long we were married. We're going to be married 10 years.
Yes.
January or June.
When was it, honey?
June 30th, 1st.
One of those J months.
June 31st.
One of those J months, Jeff. And we had planned, we were going to do a big trip, I remember. We were going to probably go to Europe or somewhere across the pond for our 10-year anniversary. But that's not in the cards with everything that's going on in the world. But 10 years will still come, and so be it.
Yeah, 10 years. I can't believe it. 100 episodes and 10 years. So I guess that's our preamble for this podcast about the podcast. How we got started.
Jeff, I didn't really give Jeff a heads up on even what we were going to talk about in this episode. So
no, I know. I really enjoy that aspect of the podcast, going into it blindly. You know?
You mean the part where you don't have to do any work leading up to it?
But you love doing the research, and I detest it.
I do. I really do.
I can't handle it. I can't do it.
I like to read and do research and put some notes together.
And I like to sleep while you do that.
Yes.
And that's what I did tonight.
I know you were napping.
I was napping on the couch like pretty well. Yeah.
Well, the way this podcast came around, although we've been married for 10 years, InfoQuench as a podcast has only been around since 2019. So we're a little over 2 years into the game of podcasting. And in terms of podcasting, I don't know if we're probably not late to the game. I think podcasting is really just starting to ramp up. A lot more people I know are listening to podcasts for the first time.
An explosion of podcasts from the pandemic, starting the pandemic.
Jeff's like rooting around for things.
I wanted to see if I could find that sheet of paper. I know it's in there where we were going and we were making the InfoQuench logo.
Oh, yes, so that's right.
I think we should do a picture of that. Of our,
if we can find that piece of paper, I think it's stashed away upstairs. So what happened was InfoQuench started out originally as a blog that just I was doing, and it was the same idea, doing research on topics I was interested in.
Yeah.
But I had built a website, and it was completely just a written blog. There was no audio portion to it, and that was back in 2016. And I did it for a few months. Even wrote an article for BuzzFeed on one of my topics.
And it got picked up for BuzzFeed, that's right.
Oh, I know. Yeah, BuzzFeed fame.
Yeah. What was that one on, or do you remember exactly?
It was a Halloween one. It was on the history of Halloween, I think. And, it was definitely around the history of Halloween. Mm-hmm. So after that, we had some things happen. My father actually had a significant brainstem stroke, and as life does sometimes, it takes some twists and turns, and that blog went on the back burner for an indefinite period of time. But as New Year's 2019 rolled around, often on New Year's Eve, Jeff and I will talk about our plans for the upcoming year, and I remember talking about wanting to have a hobby, do something creative.
Yeah.
And that's when the idea of podcasting came around.
Yeah, and I remember the day you asked me, you're like, would you want to do a podcast with me?
Would you marry me and do a podcast with me?
Yeah, of course. I think that sounds like a great idea.
Well, and Jeff had already had a YouTube video as
for
glowing cabbage. What's your handle on YouTube?
Glowing 00 cabbage.
Oh, there you go. So with, quite a few videos out over the years, and all focused on vinyl, all focused. So if you're a record enthusiast, be sure to check that out. But he had a lot of experience doing audio and a couple of radio shows.
Yeah,
three radio shows now at this point.
Yeah,
through different points of time.
In the works of getting another one going. For sure. That's one of the things that Andrew and I were talking about. I never got a chance to tell you about that.
This is how I'll find out, in the middle of this podcast episode.
Me, Derek, and Andrew want to start it.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
Well, that's interesting. That's exciting news. A little bonus. So
a little bonus.
Jeff's radio shows have been on a local radio station we have. It's 107.3 FM, but they also can be found on the internet. And one of the highlights for us for our InfoQuench podcast was when that radio station picked up our podcast, and they run it every week.
They still run it, yeah.
Every Wednesday at 1 p.m.
1 p.m., that's right, yeah.
Here in St. John, New Brunswick, but also you can listen to it online. And so that was definitely a highlight for us.
It was a highlight. It was great. It was great to be able to just grow the show, grow the InfoQuench brand, if you will. I know I keep talking to you about getting hats and T-shirts made and stuff.
You're all about the merch.
I know. I think it would be fun to do.
It's the concert history in you.
Imagine how freaky it would be if you were walking down the street and someone was wearing an InfoQuench T-shirt that you didn't even know. You don't even know who this person is.
Somebody else bought it and then they donated it to
Value Village
or Frenchies, and then someone else picked it up and they're like, what's InfoQuench? I'm just going to wear it. It's a nice new shirt.
We haven't really done anything, though. We haven't reached out to get sponsors. We haven't made any merch. It's all been word of mouth, and it's been really quite successful, I'd say, for, how long we've been doing it. 100 episodes. I mean, it's been exponentially growing each week.
And I think if we didn't see that growth, I would have long lost Well, I mean, I enjoy doing it just for us, but if literally it was just us and our moms listening, I don't know if that would be enough to keep us going to 100 episodes, but it's still great. If you're listening, moms, we appreciate your support.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We love all our loyal listeners.
So InfoQuench, the name came across, well, I think, Jeff, you came up with it, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Because I talked about loving information, loving to do research, and Jeff's like, we're like... you're like quenching your thirst for information, and that's where InfoQuench came up, was to, quench
because that is really the goal of the podcast. That's how you wanted to do, like, particular.
That was an unintended sound effect.
Maybe we'll be able to. I don't know. The screen went blank. I'm just telling you guys behind the scenes of InfoQuench, because we are talking about the podcast today. So it's on a time limit, the screen, and then it'll go dark, and I don't know when it's going to end. Like the podcast, you don't know when the time's going to be done. So I need to hit a button on the keyboard, and I always guess which one, because certain letters do certain functions for the for the software, and that was one that if I hit I, that was I. So that. For InfoQuench, I was like, I'll hit I for InfoQuench. I've never hit that one before. And then bling.
We know what I does now. Go figure that different keys on the keyboard would have different functions.
Well, the thing is it's a crapshoot, because you got to pick one that doesn't in order to get the screen back, because you can't just click the mouse.
So amongst the challenges we've had with our podcast, sound quality would be one of them.
Sound quality. I think we've got that down now.
I think, we're much better than we were. I think the first 4 episodes, I was really quiet.
Our podcast sounds better than Mark Maron's now.
Yeah.
I know, I got a bassy voice and you were really quiet, so we had to kind of get the right...
Apparently Mark Maron is the podcast by which we compare all podcasts.
Yeah.
he's the bar.
I don't know if I like the guy, to be honest. I don't know. He's too crabby. He's way too crabby.
He's real.
Yeah, he's real, I guess.
He doesn't, anybody can put on their fake personality for something, but I appreciate people who are who they are and real. Yeah. So in talking about highlights for us, another highlight for me is when we talk to friends, they say, when they listen to the podcast, it's just like talking to us, and they almost want to jump into the conversation, which is great.
Yeah.
So we've always wanted it to sound natural and, not overly contrived. I definitely don't have a script.
We should set it up so that what people would see if they were like looking at us right now, if we had a video camera on us. So I am on a chair that has wheels on it, and it's one of those office chairs that leans back, so I can't move. So I'm kind of like a statue, from the 80s, and it's got a cushion on the bottom, so I'm comfy. And then I'm like in a patio
wicker chair that
Amy's on like a patio wicker chair with like a little cushion on the bottom, and then there's a big arm, like what's that, boom? What are these things called?
You're the tech guy. You're the one who looks after all our audio. Talking about. I know, it's the arm that holds the microphone, and we have a little shock
thing, and it's a Yeti, Blue Yeti. We are not sponsored by Blue Yeti.
All the things that we've done with our podcast, the investment in a microphone, even though we got it used, but it was new, was the best investment we made. If you decide to do a podcast, that would be my number one recommendation. Get a little foam cover for it.
It's got that unidirectional mic, right? So it's like a condenser mic. So Amy can speak on one side and I can speak on the other side, and it picks it up just as if it was 2 mics.
Right.
Which is really cool. It's a figure 8 configuration that we use with no gain. Oh wait, we do have gain on there? Maybe not.
Don't be adjusting. That's the other thing, is we're not allowed to touch anything because we don't know what half of the things do. So we leave all our settings as they are.
That's right. So that's that, and then so we're in our little our living room is pretty little, and we got this glass.
It's not really that little. Sometimes I worry we echo a bit, but it's.
I don't think so. But and then there's just a little lamp, and
it's all relative speaking. It's little compared to a gymnasium. It's large compared to a closet. A lot of people record out of a closet for their podcasts because the clothing is a great sound absorber. The bathroom's actually one of the worst places you can record.
That's right, because
of the acoustics.
Too much echo, or
you want to stay away from shiny surfaces or anything that would reflect or
why
sound
do bands
back.
Always record like some of the best takes for albums were recorded in little enclosed spaces, It's
well,
interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's something for me to do some research on.
Yes, perhaps.
But anyways, that's our that's what we're doing, and we're literally like looking at each other the whole podcast.
Yeah,
like
we're about
literally
2 feet away from one another.
because we're both like
just
speaking
staring at
into
each
the
other.
mic.
And I always have my notes handy. And
Yeah, Amy's got her.
again, I know a lot of people do a script, but it's not something I would even have the time for. I mean, we both work full-time jobs, and this is just something we do on the side. So the idea of sitting down and doing a script each week just seems a little onerous to me. I don't think it's something I could ever find the time to fit in.
I wouldn't want to do that, to be honest. I like the fact that it's off the cuff, and it is just like, what is, like, if I want to go on 2 hours of tangent, I will,
And if people want to turn it off, they will.
I know. We were talking about that too. We were saying, like just a couple of days ago, we're like, do I go on too many tangents? Do you think we're losing listeners because I'm just talking about like dogs when we're like doing a podcast on vacations or something? and then here I am doing it now. So hopefully you haven't switched the channel or thrown your radio out the window or something, So anyway, you let us know. Do I go on too many tangents, or is it entertaining? I don't even know.
You just sit here and cross your fingers and keep on talking.
I don't know.
We talked about what we would use for topics when we started the podcast. So again, in part of the initial phase, from when we decided around New Year's till when we launched our first episode, about a month transpired, and we had a lot to do in that 1 month to kind of get everything set up. And by we, I mean me. Yeah,
I remember you saying the thing to do is to have like one particular subject that you focus the podcast on, and then you said in the next sentence you said, but I don't want to do that. I want to be able to go anywhere. And I'm like, yeah, I'm into there.
That's exactly right. And that's what we've done for the first 100 podcasts. We've really been all over the map in terms of topics, and we tried to stay within certain areas: travel, minimalism, parenting stuff, right? We've done a few things that were nostalgic, doing flashback episodes, things on books I've been reading. So stuff we're watching are always
I really wish I could play music, because I would love to be able to just say, okay, this is what I might do. That would be really interesting, to just do a local music minute. That's what we could call it. And I just play like a tune from a local band. I just reach out to them, say, can I use this tune on our podcast? And they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. It's all excuse me, it's all good, right?
Well, you could even do a whole separate podcast specifically on local music.
Okay. And not on this podcast. This is where I get booted out from that idea on this podcast.
No, I'm not saying that.
Oh, I should just say this. Oh, is this what's happening here? Oh, is this what's happening? Because that's what Mark Maron says all the time. I want to be just like Mark Maron when I grow up.
Even though you don't like him.
Even though he's only 7 years older than me.
Even though you said he was grumpy.
He is grumpy.
You're grumpy at times.
I know I am. Yeah.
So maybe that's a good fit.
Yeah.
So
anyways, aside... I'm
not putting the kibosh on your local music idea. I love local music, but one of the things that we want to do is talk about the future of our podcast, and we are going to streamline our content a bit. I've actually been doing some reading, surprisingly enough, on podcasting, and there are a ton of podcasts that are about anything and everything, and it makes it difficult for people who are searching for new podcasts to listen to say,
yes,
is that a good fit for what my interests are?
And that is why every podcast after the 100th will be about lint.
And lint collection.
Know. What are we going to be talking?
And how you need to empty the lint trap after every load of laundry.
You don't do it every load of laundry.
Yes, you do. You don't do it.
No,
you don't do it.
Because you shouldn't have to do it
once
after
you do your
every
laundry.
Laundry.
There's like a mat, like a half-inch thick. Do you know that most house fires start from lint traps?
I know. You're always worried about house fires.
But I think it sounds
and rightfully
true.
So. But I don't think everybody.
I'm always worried about house fires. I mean, isn't everybody worried about a house fire?
You really worry about them, though. You really worry about them.
I don't.
If a new lamp comes into the house, you're like, you don't know where that lamp's been.
Well, it's because it's not a new lamp. It's a lamp that you've got somewhere.
It could be a faulty lamp, and you bring it anyway.
Wires and such. It's not as though it came from a store with a CSA.
But I think it's every 2 to 3 laundry loads that people do the lint trap. Not every single load. Come on, really? Is that what we're doing here?
So, no, the next 100 episodes won't be about Lent.
No.
But we'll let you know what they're going to be about.
Yeah, we're going to leave that a little bit of a surprise, people.
Yeah, they call that what, a teaser? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, we're going to have some new intros and outros, perhaps.
Yes, record. So that was another thing that we had to do. So then that 1 month of getting the podcast set up, I just want to run you through what goes into doing a podcast for those who haven't done one, and in case you're interested. If not, hit the fast forward 2 minutes and we can skip over this. So once we decided on the name, we had to get a logo designed. A friend of mine, Mark Rooney, who is graphic designer, helped me out with that. And we were sure to compensate him. And you should always compensate artists for any of their work.
Of course, don't expect anything for free, people.
As an aside, no, I mean, artwork has value in any form. So make sure you compensate your artists, your local artists. So logo and artwork were one thing. Then I needed to put together the website. And in doing that, I also had to figure out who would be the podcast hosting platform we would use. There's a ton of them out there: Libsyn, Podbean, Buzzsprout. We went with Libsyn. It seemed like a lot of the top podcasts use them. There's a small monthly fee, but definitely...
What was I doing throughout all of this?
Not a whole lot. You were having a nap on the couch, I think. So after doing some research... You wouldn't
allow me to do it. That's the thing. You wouldn't even say, like, could you do that for me? You'd just be like, I'll just do it myself.
Well, I found it interesting. I wanted to do it.
I know.
So in setting that up, we had to figure out, you get your thumbnails, you get your write-up, about what your podcast is about, and then you start getting your RSS feed out to different destinations, and Libsyn's really well set up for that.
Libsyn is really well set up. You've not been disappointed by them once.
No, and so how it happens now, when you search InfoQuench on Google, you'll see a ton of different options come up in terms of podcast listening platforms that you can listen to it on.
Everything from Spotify to...
All right, Google Podcasts has since come out, Amazon. There's a ton of them. So pretty much anywhere you're getting your podcasts, you can listen to.
And we have our own website as well.
Well, we do, yes. So InfoQuench.com, and then we reserved InfoQuench.ca for future use. But you have to pay for every direction of domain to an alternate website.
Annually, or is it monthly?
Well, you purchase your domains on an annual basis. So after we did that, we had to get hardware and software to actually record the podcast. So that involved the mic stand.
Right.
And we use Reaper for our software to record.
Reaper's fantastic. It's so simple.
It's great, and we really don't edit. Again, hobby podcast, we don't have a lot of time to edit. We go through it quickly. And I think we had a recent episode where we had to, in order to keep our clean rating, we had to edit out a little piece.
Yeah, thanks to me. Sorry. I know.
But other than
always taking the train off the rails.
If you see one that's 30 or 29 minutes instead of 30 minutes long, then that's why. And we recorded our intro, outro music, so we had to find the music that we liked to make sure that we had the appropriate, it was Creative Commons and we were allowed to use it.
And you actually sent an email saying, I just want to ensure that it's okay for us to use.
For the new, our new intro, outro music, I did that, yes. So the music that we're currently using is credited on the website. So be sure to do that. If you're using music for your intro, outro, you got to make sure that you've got the right to use that music. Otherwise, you will get dinged. And again,
it's not fun to steal someone's art anyway.
No.
That's really what you're doing.
And even if it's unintentional, you've got to do your due diligence to make sure you're not doing that. So once we did that, then we had to get all our social media set up. So you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Instagram by far has been our strongest following. And
we got booted from that a while back.
We did. That would be one of the lowlights. We were locked out of Instagram
for no reason.
I have no idea, but when I did some searching on Reddit threads, a lot of people were booted out at the same time. I don't know if we did something that triggered it, and if there was a photo or something that they thought maybe. Are always really careful to use photos that are Creative Commons if they're not our own. But
you always make your own photos, though.
We randomly got it back. We got our account back, so we're up and running. And I was glad to have that happen. But that was a bit of a little. That
was a couple months we were out.
It was 2 or 3 months.
I was having problems with my Facebook at that time too. They were booting me out of there for no reason. Anyway.
So once that was all done, we were ready to get going, and it was a matter of choosing a topic for each episode, doing some research.
Our first one was quite fun because we literally were fish out of the water. Like, we didn't really know
Me more so than you, I think.
Well, you were just worried about how you would come off like your voice and stuff, but you sound great.
Oh, thanks.
Well, you do. You really do. I think it's a nice little combination of your voice, being a little more high pitched and mine's a little more bassy, and I think it's easy for people to listen in vehicles and stuff when they're driving. I don't think it's too quiet.
Hopefully not. I think most people probably are listening. Well, I think a lot of people listen with headphones, but maybe not all. And I know I listen to my podcasts walking to and from work with headphones.
Yeah.
I mean, great thing about smartphones is a lot more people are listening to podcasts for that reason, just because they can listen to it from their phone.
Yeah.
And, it's easy to download. Our episodes, we decided to keep to 30 minutes. One reason is because we mentioned they are carried on a radio station, and we want to stay within the 30-minute time frame for them. But we also felt it was just a digestible amount of time.
It's very digestible. And I honestly, it works for me, like, as far as time frame as well. Like, I wouldn't want to talk for, like, 4 hours or, you know what I mean?
Well, no.
No one wants to hear us talk that long.
There are times when we felt a little rushed with a topic, and then we'll do a 2-parter or a 3-parter if that's fine. The case.
Yeah.
But for the most part, half an hour seems to be working well. So we're definitely going to stick with that going forward in the future. And, some of the other challenges have been just ambient noise, dealing with
the cat.
We do live in a city, so we have traffic that goes back and forth.
Yeah.
So,
it's starting to get warmer out, and people are driving around with their windows down and loud music and stuff. And I don't have a problem with that. It's just when we're recording, you can hear it. But I don't really think our listeners really find that as a down thing. I think it's just kind of adds to the ambiance of the show, really.
Well, yeah.
That's what
we hope.
That's what I hope.
Another highlight for me was we have a local, I say local musicians, Tomato, but they are, I guess...
They're international.
They're international, really, and they were touring in Australia. And a highlight for me was when I saw a post with, a shot of them listening as they were driving to a location in Australia, and mentioning that they were listening to InfoQuench for a taste of home.
Yeah, that was abroad, so nice. That was a nice really
highlight.
That really touched us for sure that they listened to our show that far away.
And it's great when you just have like random, it's one thing for closer friends to listen, but then other acquaintances that you maybe aren't in touch with as often, and they mention that they're listening to the podcast. That's always cool. I know anybody else who's a fellow podcaster who may be listening. I know podcasters like to support one another, and but it is great when we...
That's one thing that I would like to see more of in the new, after the 100th episode, is a little bit more interaction with our listeners. Find out what they think and what they... So maybe we'll do a survey or something sometime, and you guys can take like 3 hours to fill it out and let us know what you think.
I'm laughing because in terms of the social media accounts, it's all me that looks after those. Jeff has his own personal social media accounts, but he doesn't really do the InfoQuench ones. So if you see comments and such, they're usually coming from me, and he has all these great suggestions on things we can do on social media. But, but then I'm the one who has to carry them out. So
you do such a good job, though, honey.
Oh yeah, flattery will get you everywhere.
Yeah.
One thing that it really has made us more aware of our speech in podcasting. So I always listen back to our episodes before we post them. But you start to realize if you overuse a word or if you're pausing.
Right. I say right a lot and absolutely.
I say absolutely.
You say absolutely too?
I do.
Let's say it together at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's cool.
In perfect harmony.
Yeah.
Not so much. But that was me saying the ahs that I...
Yeah, but you know what? That's just... a thing that we do when we're thinking about the next word we want to say.
There you go. That's it. And there are times when we have to think about the words we want to say, such as right at this moment.
It really bothers me though when I'm listening to a politician, say Justin Trudeau, and or any politician, and they're always like, and the citizens of Canada really want to think that I'm.
So it's not okay for politicians to do it, but we.
No, but they do it. They do it so much though, and they do it so much so that in fact I say I can't stand that when they do it. Like it actually pops out Do you know what I mean? And
you get a little grumpy about it?
I get a little grumpy about it, I guess. Yeah. It's pretty annoying. And you know what? Hockey players do it too. And I just did it. So I just did it just when I went. And hockey players.
There you go. So there's been a lot of interesting ups and downs in these past 99 episodes, and we're looking forward to another 100 episodes. But more specifically, we're looking forward to the next episode with all of our top tips. So make sure you tune in for episode 100 that'll be coming up next.
Yes, it's coming up. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening.
And remember, you can catch up on past episodes at InfoQuench.com.
Or just about anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
And help spread the word about InfoQuench.
Till next time.